Welcome to another episode of OG55. I got Jared from Capture the Magic in the house today. We're talking all about Las Vegas. The numbers are in, and Vegas is way down compared to previous years. But why is that? We're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down. We're going to speculate. We got Jared, Capture the Magic in the house on OG55. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55. I got Jared with me today from Capture the Magic. We're going to talk about Vegas. We're going to break it down. Jared, welcome back, sir.
Thank you for having me. I've been to Vegas 4 times, so I kind of Vegas. I know of Vegas very well, so I can give some personal insights on what's going on here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Where can everybody find you on social media?
I'm at Cap the Magic everywhere, including YouTube. Keep it very simple, and that's where you can find me on all of the platforms out there. I try and keep that username the same no matter what it's on. So if there's some new thing that pops up in the future, I'll try and just keep it Cap the Magic wherever I go.
Perfect. And Capture the Magic is the home to, we have a collabo show every, like 2 weeks, Jared?
Yeah, I've been doing it every 2 weeks. Yeah, over there. It's always a good time. Usually OG, you got George, the Italiano, and Slimer, and we have some other guests on there to talk about theme park. Kind of the same thing, we both talk about our channels, but it's fun having other perspectives. Because a lot of times you guys will say stuff, and I'm like, oh, I never thought about that. That's a good point. So it's a lot of fun. We'll probably do one next week. Get with the guys, figure out a good time there. But yeah, it's always a good time.
Always a good time. The show is called Theme Parking. Make sure you go over there and check it out. We got a lot of episodes actually already, so you can catch it on the replay for sure. So
yes, sir.
All right, let's go ahead and dive into our topic, Jared. This is crazy, right? This is courtesy of NBC News. Las Vegas has the summertime blues. The city known for lavish shows, endless buffets, and round-the-clock gambling saw an 11% drop in visitors in June compared to the same time last year. It says here, empty hotel rooms, half-filled casinos, and an overall feeling of dread has cast a pall on this normally bustling mecca of 24/7 entertainment. There was a 11.3% fewer visitors to Las Vegas and a 10.7% fewer convention goers in June compared to the same month last year. The Vegas Convention Center and Visitors Authority recently said the decline in Las Vegas tourism is taking money straight out of the pockets of Sin City's legion of service workers who rely on tips to make ends meet. Jared, what is going on with Vegas? A lot of people have theories. I'm curious, where are you at with this? Where's your mindset?
So if you look at it's kind of interesting. I don't think it's one single thing. If you look at 11% drop overall, and then they said like a 10% drop in the conventions, I'm pretty sure Vegas, I don't know if they still are now, but they were the #1 convention destination in the world. I've been to Vegas twice when it was my wife worked for a company. They had conventions out there. Like that's a big part of their traffic. So if you've seen a decrease in that, you could make that could be a lot of it. Is you just don't have as many people coming in for business trips that are just, they kind of have that. You've seen people on business trip. They just send it, they got the company's dime. They're going to spend more money and just kind of let loose a little bit. Yeah. But I think it also could be a lot of different things. Like people aren't drinking as much as they used to.
Thank you.
And I think, and like I have a sister-in-law that works for a Anheuser-Busch distributor, and she's told me about the massive drop-off, especially in Gen Z. And so I don't think like when you're younger, it was like go to Vegas and have a wild time. I don't think that generation is doing that. And then you bring into fact like gambling as well. You can gamble from anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's become really mainstream. And so it's like you don't have to go to Vegas just to gamble. So I think it could be a lot of things. I don't think it's just one single thing, but I do think those 3 things I do think have a lot to do with it in terms of just like major points.
Yeah, no, well said. That's where my head is kind of going at with it too. I'm seeing a lot of articles lately that this younger generation, Gen Z, they're not into alcohol, not like the millennials, are or were, and Vegas is a drink town. People go and they drink a lot, and so if this generation isn't into that, I could see that impacting visitation big time. The gambling thing is another great point. We can gamble on the phone now. Everything's mobile, everything's through apps and things like that. You don't need to go all the way to Vegas to gamble. Also, I think, and a lot of people have already brought this up, I don't think it's the whole reason, obviously, but I do think it might be part of the equation. which is the priciness of just the whole experience in Vegas, right?
That's a very, very good point. That's a very well. First time I went to Vegas was like 20. Oh man, it would have been like 2004, and then I went back after my wife and I got married. It was like 2013 era, somewhere around there. And the difference then was a lot because when I went, I was like right out of kind of early on in college. It was still cheap. They could find kind of pockets where you could still go as a broke college kid, have a good time. We were there for like a day and a half. And like, we didn't spend a lot of money, but we had fun. And then I went back with my wife for a convention, and it was like a lot more corporatized, I guess you could say. It wasn't the same feel. And I actually have a friend that lives near Vegas, and he was just telling me how expensive it is now. Like you don't have used to be able to go to Vegas and get cheap hotels because like, well, you're going to stay here, going to gamble, you're going to spend money on food or whatever. But everything is like nickel and diming on steroids. Like hotel rooms, or I think the average hotel room now is like $400 a night. Drinks aren't comped. Like you used to be able to get drinks comped if you were gambling and stuff like that. Like I think it's a lot of the nickel and diming, and it's just overall a lot more expensive in a time when people don't have a lot of discretionary income to just go spend it in Vegas on a weekend.
Yeah, no, well said, well said. It's that kind of adds insult to injury, right? When already you're not really motivated to go if you're not a drinker, if the gambling isn't your thing, and then now on top of that, everything is like sky high with the pricing. There's not a whole lot of incentive there to like get down there and do it, and it's like, what is Vegas going to do to get the younger people back in there? This is why actually, and this is kind of what I really wanted to discuss with you, because we do a lot of theme park stuff, and Universal has moved into Vegas, and I think they actually moved in at the perfect time. I know a lot of people might disagree with me on that, but now is the time to really move into this market and be counter programming, because the other programming ain't really doing it right now. So if Universal can move in there and offer people an experience that like isn't gambling and isn't just basically just pounding alcohol, there's more to it. It's much more of a themed experience that like almost like a slice of a theme park experience. Now is the time to do that, and it's good for Vegas. And I think that maybe this will encourage other entertainment companies like Disney or what have you to get in there and kind of do similar stuff. But what are your take on that in terms of the Horror Unleashed coming into Vegas at this time?
I agree. I think it's an interesting thing to throw into that mix and see what it does. You can also make the argument as well that Vegas has kind of turned into a sports town now, strangely enough. They got pro sports now, which for the longest time they wouldn't touch Vegas because of the gambling.
Right.
And so as gambling has become more mainstream, you've seen sports come in, which is probably some of this price increases we've been seeing. But yeah, I think Universal coming in is interesting because I've always called it these themed experiences. And you've seen Netflix do similar ones in other cities. I wouldn't be surprised if, say, Netflix House pops up in Vegas and some of these other ones where maybe, I don't know if you'd call it, I don't think Horror Unleashed is family friendly, but more variety of things to do other than just drink and gamble.
Right.
And I think that would be, they could be going through a little bit of identity shift in terms of now they're more sports heavy and people aren't drinking as much. And let's be honest, if you're not drinking as much, you're not going to gamble as much, because a lot of gambling is you have a few drinks. That's why they used to give you comp drinks, because if you get 3 or 4 drinks in you, you're probably going to spend a little bit more on the slot machines or feel a little bit loose.
Yeah.
So it's I can see it becoming more of a sports related, more like experiences end of things potentially, and not just, hey, let's go into this casino and spend all night in here and probably lose all your money.
Yeah, I think Vegas, because in the 90s, we're about the same age. You remember in the 90s when like they were really pushing for like the family market to like, remember that? Yeah. And I'm like, and then they gave up on it. Like they didn't really give it a chance. I don't think they let it go long enough. They kind of gave up on like pretty soon after they started that whole campaign. But I think that would have been smart to kind of stick that out a little longer, because I think that's kind of, that was a pivotal point for Vegas where they could have really diversified back then, like 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. And they would, in the situation they're in now, if they would have had a more diverse portfolio of experiences. And now they kind of have to go back to that same playbook, because here we are now. People don't want the Sin City thing like 100%. They want other stuff, right? So it's like,
well, and I think if you're going to, I agree with you. They didn't give it long enough, because if you're going to break a trend of what something is, you have to give it a long enough time, because you're going against the current. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to like give it more time to catch on. Then they kind of went back and then it became what happened to Vegas stays in Vegas, which is leading to the, debauchery, whatever you want to call it, going here and doing things you wouldn't normally do at home sort of thing. And I do think on some level as well, I think there's a cultural shift going on for a lot of different reasons where people are wanting more, I guess you would say experiences, like more connections with other people and not just going out and just getting sloppy faced and losing money in a casino. And I think Vegas could be one. I mean, obviously that's what Vegas was kind of built on. And they could be the first one really kind of seeing this big shift happen. Because like we were talking about before, I don't think it's just one single thing. I think it's a lot of different stuff going on here that's kind of hitting Vegas kind of interestingly. Whereas like you look at Orlando, its tourism keeps going up, even during a slower time, economically. Yeah. So it's like, it's not that all the tourism is down everywhere. It just seems to be hitting Vegas a lot more harder than it's hitting other places.
Exactly. It's a great point, Jared, because if it was just like what people were saying, like I see a lot of this narrative out there in the media where it's like, oh, it's just because Vegas is expensive. That's a part of it. But if it was just the price tag, I mean, Epic Universe is crushing it right now. I mean, the theme park market in Florida is doing really, really well, right? Well, theme parks aren't exactly known for their affordability. Even Universal, there's some stuff in there where it's pricey, right?
Outside so it's like Fun Spot, which if you know what Fun Spot is, that's where you go to not get stabbed, but you can go there pretty cheap. Outside of there, most of them are pretty expensive.
Most are pretty expensive, but yet people are still going to those in droves. I mean, Epic Universe has been massively successful. Obviously, Disney has had a huge success in that area. Out here in California, Disneyland Resort is doing just fine too. I mean, so it's clearly not just the money thing. Like there is definitely a lot going. There's a lot of moving parts here with Vegas, and it looks like this is a real pivotal moment where they're going to have to really make some decisions as to how they're going to move forward. They're going to have to do some evolving, I think,
I agree. Well, and it's like, do they have a lot of musical acts out there now that like they used to?
They have like, I believe they have Cirque du Soleil, the O Show, I think it is.
Okay.
They have Blue Man Group. Offhand, that's the only two that I could really think of.
Like they used to be known, a lot of it was like an entertainment hub too. Like you had residencies, like I know Britney Spears was there for a bit, or you'd have these big names come in and they would, kind of take over Vegas for a bit. And I think if you look at it, like for me, instance, like I don't really drink anymore. I might have a beer every once in a while. Like for me, even when I was in my 30s, I'm like the idea of going somewhere just to drink a lot and like not remember, like, do you want to spend a lot of money to not really remember what you're doing? Versus I do think people want to go and I think a part of it too is a reaction to like say the digital age where everything's online so much now. People want actual connections and want to experience stuff and not just be part of a blur of, like, and to me, like casinos are weird too. When you go in there, like you literally don't know if it's dark outside or light outside. Like it looks the same. It's kind of crazy when you get in there. And I think it kind of reminds me, I'm from Missouri. So Branson was like 45 minutes away. I don't know if you know what Branson, Missouri is, but it was known as like, you had a bunch of the old country music singers that would have theaters, and that's what it kind of became. Well, then as those like Andy Williams, Jim Stafford, like all these like names that were kind of bigger, in the 50s or so. And as they got older and they kind of started, they were dying off, they're still one of those places too. It's like they don't know what they are now. I think a lot of these places are going through this shift of like they've always been a tourist hub, but the culture has shifted and the things that were relied on have shifted. So it's like you got to figure out what are you going to be going forward.
Right.
And I think Vegas is kind of at that point because, I mean, like I said, talking to my buddy out there, he was just saying like he lives out there and he's like, I rarely go to the Strip. He's like, because he was just about how expensive like parking and food, like he's like everything is at bare minimum a meal is like $50 a person.
Oh, jeez. That's crazy.
And he's like used to be able to go and like, you might have to pay to park, but it was like, it wasn't going to break the bank just to go hang out at a casino where he's like, everything now, just everything you want to do in Vegas cost at least $20 to $50.
That's wild to me. And also, Jared, it's also interesting too, how culture has changed with certain things, right? Like smoking, for example, it's very, especially out here in California, the smoking thing isn't really seen as widely accepted anymore. Right. It's even Disney, like, there's no smoking areas, even at Universal Hollywood. I mean, you got to go all the way outside, like behind the Tilly's and City Walk to smoke, right? Because I have a buddy who still smokes and he couldn't go anywhere in the park at Universal to smoke. You had to go all the way outside the park. So it's kind of a taboo thing, but I don't think that's like, in terms of Vegas, I think they still let you smoke in the casinos and stuff. And that could be a small part of it where people are just kind of like, yeah, I'm not really into like sitting in a whole room where like there's a bunch of cigarette smoke, because people aren't used to that anymore. Like when I was a kid, I remember going to the doctor's office and there were like ashtrays in the elevators. You know?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Remember that, like back in the day?
I was telling my daughter, they don't have any more, but the cigarette lighters in the cars.
Yeah,
I remember as a kid, I burnt my finger on one, and she's never seen one because it's like you have them now, you plug electronics into. But I was like, yeah, they used to have a thing you light cigarettes with. That could be part of it. I think as well, if you look at, well, even talk about Universal, they actually banned all smoking areas in Orlando.
Wow, that's crazy.
No more smoking spots are going to be down in there. So that could be part of it. I think also if you look at, and again, talking to people I know that live out there, there's a real issue with like homelessness and like it's not really safe around the strip. He was saying there's been multiple instances of people that have been kind of assaulted, like going into the hotels, and police don't show up for 10, 15 minutes. And I think a lot of people are also looking at just, it's not safe to be there. And so if you don't feel safe and it's expensive and you don't want to drink, you know, it's not going to be really a haven for people to pour into to really spend a weekend there, or like, you know, especially taking a family or something.
Oh, 100%. I mean, think about, the strip, the part of the magic, so to speak, of the strip is that you can stay at your hotel, walk down to the strip, like walk around with your buddies, get some drinks, go to a club or something. But the fun of it is being able to kind of walk around and kind of explore like the strip. But if you don't feel safe doing that,
right,
it's like that kind of kills the entire thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, we would walk from like casino, kind of pop in there and look at them. And that was that was the fun part of it, is where you just walk around the strip. And like, even if it's at 2:00 in the morning, it still felt like it was like 7:00 in the evening. Like it just never sleeps. Like it's always going. I do wonder, I think the convention thing is a pretty decent metric. I wonder, and I don't have those numbers in front of me. I know Orlando was number 2 for conventions. I wonder if more places are choosing to go to, say, Orlando for conventions and not going out to Vegas, perhaps due to cost. If you're a business looking out to go to a convention, like when my wife, we went to the convention, they put us up in the Aria. And at the time, I mean, that's a nice hotel.
Yeah.
But at the time, it wasn't that insanely expensive. Like it was pricier, but it wasn't like it is now. Whereas I think you can get more value if you say you go to Orlando. Those hotels around there, some of them can be pretty cheap. You can go to theme parks. You can have things that you can do that are family friendly. I kind of wonder if that's part of it as well, just from businesses not wanting to spend the money that now Vegas is kind of demanding.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's definitely a part of it, I think, you know? So a lot of moving pieces here, you know? Now, for you personally, you said you've been 4 times. What's your feeling on Vegas? I know we talked about it privately, but I'm really curious, like, you know, like if you want to elaborate that.
I'm not a Vegas guy. I've gone the one time I went when I was the youngest, we were driving out to California. We spent a little time in San Diego, LA. On the drive back, we stopped through Vegas for like a night. And it was like a cool, like I'd never been. I was like, oh, this is like you've seen in the movies and Ocean's 11 and all that stuff.
Right.
And I was like, it was okay. Like there were some things that happened where, you know, everybody I went with just got completely hammered and couldn't find them for most of the night. And just like, oh, okay. The other times I went were all like either with my wife's business stuff, or I went one time to a convention my buddy threw on. And I can't say I'm a Vegas person. It doesn't really appeal to me too much. Like, I sat down at a slot machine. I was waiting for my wife to come up downstairs for breakfast. I think I put $1 in. I won $120, and I was like, "Cash out. I'm good because I'm going to lose this if I stay here and spend more." So I'm not a big gambler, not a big drinker. I just, it's not something that appeals to me a lot. And have I been there? Like I'm good after like 2 days. Like it's not a place I could spend a week. And I do wonder, like you guys on the West Coast, Vegas is an easier drive. To just kind of go over there for like, kind of like how Orlando's a day drive for us a lot of times because we're like 2 hours away. Right. I could see Vegas being that sort of destination and not as much one where you're like, let's go ahead and stay for 3 nights sort of thing. But I can't see it appeals to my interests. Probably since my late 20s. I kind of feel like it's kind of been the same now that I'm in my 40s. I'm just like, I don't know. Like, unless I have to go to Vegas, I probably wouldn't choose to go.
Yeah, no, that's fair. In my 20s, I used to love going clubbing and stuff with my friends. Even out here in LA, we would go all the time. And then, so Vegas in my 20s, I loved it, because it was like, oh, cool. We go down there, we stay at a hotel, we can go clubbing, and the club is like in your hotel. It's super convenient. There's no Hollywood Boulevard nonsense with the parking and all that stuff. So I always had a good time. But I think as you get older, and then especially like if you get into a relationship, Vegas doesn't have it doesn't hit the same, right? It's a single town. So
yeah. I think if you go to Vegas in your relationship, it's like there's a lot of trust that needs to be there for there to be like no worry about what are you going to do in Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. So that changes the dynamic and stuff. And I don't even know if, speaking of like, the generations and things changing with like Gen Z and all that, I don't even know if like Gen Z even goes clubbing. Like,
I don't know either. I mean, it's an interesting, like a lot of Gen Z gets demonized a lot.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of, you look at younger generations and they're like, oh, those kids. But
right.
It's kind of interesting in terms of like a lot of them have it's almost like they've seen the dangers of the older generations above them. And so they're like, we're not going to drink a lot. We're going to kind of be more like traditional in many ways. And I just don't think Vegas appeals to them very much. And I think this is a challenge you're seeing across like all these businesses now trying to figure out Gen Z. Yeah. Like, well, if they're not, and especially if you're Vegas, you're like, okay, if you're not drinking, if you don't want to gamble, what are we going to do? What, and not though, I mean, Vegas is established enough, like there's enough money there. They can figure out things that will appeal to wider. And I think Universal Horror Unleashed can be one of those. Like if that something comes in, if that blows up and does really well, you're going to see a bunch of other stuff like that pop up.
Yeah.
I think it's just like, it's kind of like I've always heard Vegas be like a copycat town. Of like, if it works, you'll see other places pop. And that's why you have all those casinos pop up because one did really well and here come more. That could be their saving grace. But I think at the end of the day, you almost just have to make it cheaper. Like it really, if you want people to come to places, you almost have to make it less cost prohibitive to go to just spend a little time there.
Yeah, no, well said. So we'll see if they can, turn this around. I'm sure they will. Like you said, they got resources to kind of play with what they got and figure it out. But I think we're gonna see a lot of changes, though. I really do.
I'm curious about like what was the big casino that just recently got demolished? There was one that they tore down. I can't remember
was it the Mirage?
It may have been the Mirage. There was a couple, and like you've seen stuff on social media, like people walking through the Bellagio and it's just empty. And I just don't like if they're not valuing those things. It's just, I think on some level there's enough money, there's enough interest there. And now you have sports team. Now you've got the NFL involved in MLB. Like they also have a vested interest in Vegas doing well. So I think you're going to see a lot, they'll figure some stuff out, I'm sure. But I do wonder how much of it is Gen Z or how much of it is just people. Maybe gambling is a bigger part than we think. Like you can just pop on your phone and gamble, and maybe it's lost its lure because people would just go to Vegas to just gamble. But it's like, well, you can kind of do that anywhere you want now,
right?
And the allure of it is no longer really the big thing about what Vegas was built on, really.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny. I have a buddy. Shout out to Alan. I've known Alan since I was a kid, but we were about 18 or 19 years old at the time, and he was, speaking of sports, he was a real big sports guy, right? So I don't really follow sports, but are the Victor Awards still a thing?
I don't even know. I used to follow sports a lot. I don't think I've ever heard of the Victor Awards. Is that a certain sports specific one?
Yeah, it's a sports award.
Okay, it says the country's most outstanding professional and amateur athletes and coaches. Okay.
There we go. Yeah, so I went with Alan and his family, and we drove down to Vegas, and that was like my first time there. It was cool. So anyway, we were staying at the Las Vegas Hilton at the time. So we were in the lobby, and Alan was kind of shy, like with women, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're in the lobby, and he sees this beautiful Latina with blonde hair just standing there by herself, And now that I'm a lot wiser, I'm thinking, okay, by herself, that's not normal for like a really attractive woman. Usually they're with people, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, Alan, bro, you should go talk to her, man. Just go over and talk. She's by herself, dude. And he was all nervous, man. He was all like trying to get up the guts to go talk to her, the whole thing, right? He goes and talks to her, and she turns out to be a sex worker.
Lady of the night, if you will.
A lady of the night, yeah, exactly. And it was pretty funny. He comes back, he's like, oh, bro, Yeah, no, she works here.
Yeah, she's busy. Yeah. Well, I remember the first time I went to Vegas and you get hit with all those trading cards, which I didn't know was a thing. Like you're just walking, they did put, and all of a sudden you just have trading cards of like ladies of the night. And you're like, what is this? And like, yeah, it's just, and you'll see them all over the ground too.
Oh yeah,
they're just laying everywhere. Yeah. Well, and it's funny. You can also, if you look at the movies that have performed well at the box office the past, like say 2 years, they've all been family-friendly movies for the most part. I think the only one outside of that is like Deadpool, Wolverine that made $1 billion. The other ones have been Inside Out 2, Moana 2, Lilo and Stitch. I do think there is much more of a draw to family-friendly entertainment than there has been in the past. And so it's like for me, like having a family now, it's like, and again, unless I had a business trip to go on, I'm not going to choose to go to Vegas. I was like, I would choose many other places unless it was a checkout like Horror Unleashed or something that's, you know, kind of involving what we typically cover with theme parks. Right. But I think there's a lot of people that may just feel the same way of wanting, and especially if you're going to spend money on an experience, you want something that's just not so disposable, I guess you could say.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, real quick before we go, I want to ask you, like, if Disney were to get into this space, right? Like if Horror Unleashed continues to be a success, which I think it will be, what could Disney do here? Like, obviously you can't do Disney princesses or nothing like that, but like what IP could they use? What kind of entertainment could they even do?
I mean, if Marvel and Star Wars were in better places, I mean, I guess Marvel still could be, but I think if you had some sort of like the theme type of experience is what Horror Unleashed is. You're taking an aspect from the theme park, kind of making its own little thing. I mean, you could do a Star Wars thing where it's like you're walking through the Death Star. Like there's all sorts of things they could do around the different IPs. You know, you've got the Disney on Ice stuff has done very well. You could take something like that and make a pop-up show that kind of travels around, or maybe a thing that they center in Vegas, kind of like a residency for a while. I don't know if they would do anything theme park wise that they could really bring to Vegas. I'm trying to think of something that would kind of be like Horror Unleashed where they could do that. But they do have the IPs and interest. And I guess if Vegas does become much more family centric, it could make sense for Disney to have a relevancy there. Now I do think if Universal stuff with the Kids Resort and the Horror Unleashed is successful, I do think you will see Disney do something on some level to also have some sort of representation in that same way. But that would be interesting how they would view Vegas now through the lens of you have sports teams there now. It's much more corporatized. It's not as much of the old school like mob Sinatra days. Like it might, it could appeal to Disney to do something there. I would just assume it would be off of like a Star Wars or Marvel type of thing. Yeah. But you could go kids route on some level, I suppose. I guess it would just depend on what Vegas kind of ends up morphing into, maybe. Yeah, I could definitely see Star Wars. I could definitely see Marvel. I can even see like Avatar or some kind of show. Avatar could be cool, like the sphere thing in the graphics they have for Avatar movies. I mean, you could do an Avatar experience. That would be kind of cool. I mean, that'd be sick. I think outside the box stuff, like the sphere's interesting. All those bars, did they have one in Vegas where it's like you're there? Yeah. Have you seen those? Yeah. Yeah, something like that where you could have like you're in the world of Pandora, like sitting around doing stuff like that. I could see them doing, and other brands as well. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you see popular IPs, like even Sonic theme parks are getting ready to pop up. You could see some sort of Sonic the Hedgehog thing. I mean, I think it really does depend whatever Vegas the next 10 years sort of becomes. Are they going to stay the gambling, come here to drink and party atmosphere, or does it shift more to like in the 90s where they try and become more family friendly, which I think they could do with those sports leagues being there. I don't think they want the image of Vegas kind of how it's always been. Right. Absolutely. And speaking of Star Wars and Marvel, we were talking a little bit about it, but on the phone today, but like Disney's really worried about boys not being into these franchises. They want a new IP to sort of fill in the gaps of these boy IPs. I'm like, and I really want to do a video with you on this, a whole standalone video on this. We'll bring Jay and everybody on too. But like, it's like that whole thing was weird to me anyway, because it's like you bought Star Wars and Marvel for that reason. You've mismanaged, especially Star Wars, really mismanaged it.
And now you're like, okay, well, what's a new IP we can use now? Well, why don't you just fix those two? You don't need to do another. It's crazy.
I know.
Jared.
You spent $8 billion buying the two of them, and you're like, that Variety article is kind of crazy. I'm still editing the video I did on it, and some of it you're like, I don't think you've talked to any men like in this category, because like guys aren't complicated. Like we're pretty simple creatures. Like when it comes to Star Wars, good guy, bad guy, overcoming obstacle, good wins in the end. Maybe you save a damsel in distress, but honestly, with that, most guys I think are like, we could do without that part. But okay, if it's there, it's there. But like for them to circle back to kind of where they started before, because they bought Marvel and Star Wars to appeal to boys,
right? Exactly.
And now they're right back where they're at, and it's like, why would you not just rehab those brands or do something different? But it's like, that's a big ask to be like, okay, we need a new IP to replace Marvel and Star Wars. You're like, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
To think like unless you go buying one, which the Variety article didn't say they were looking to buy stuff. It said they were looking to develop it.
Okay.
Like, well, okay. Like, and given where video games are kind of the next big thing for movies, kind of what superhero stuff was, I don't know if they go that route. I don't think they're going to be making a Fortnite movie. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah. It just seems so like short-sighted to me. Like invest in what you already have,
Yeah.
I don't get it.
We've talked about before. It's like, if you tell it's funny to me that they're also wanting this demographic whenever they spent the better part of a decade kind of talking down to that demographic.
Right.
And then now it's like, well, actually, we want you guys back. And it's like, well, okay, you can't just turn the switch on and off. Like if you're not telling stories that they resonate with, this is kind of the end result of that. Like they're just going to kind of move on to other things. And I don't, and maybe same thing with like you talk about Vegas, where it's like Vegas, I would say for the most part, is probably a male centric town.
Yeah.
Would be my guess. And it's like, maybe the things they're doing now aren't appealing to men in that way. And I think there is a lot of people that just don't understand, like, what do these guys want? And I'm just like, guys aren't complicated though. We're pretty simple.
We're pretty simple.
Reacher. Yeah. Have you ever seen the show Reacher?
Yes.
Great example. It is not a complicated show.
Nope.
It is a very simple premise. You have a stud dude who has a high moral character, takes on bad guys, and and like it's basically it. Like it's not complicated, and you're like, it does great for Amazon Prime Video, and it's like, just do stuff like that. Like that's the demo you want. That's kind of what you have to do.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's gonna we didn't get in this mess overnight, and we're not going to get out of it overnight. And Disney needs to have a strategy long term.
I've said that before about Marvel. It's like, if you have 4 or 5 string of good movies, then maybe you're back. But like one good movie, like Fantastic Four was a better movie than what they've had the past few years. But still, you need more than just one movie to say, oh, we're back on track, or whatever that case is. I think,
right. 100%.
Yeah, I agree completely.
It's going to be interesting, but everybody go subscribe to Capture the Magic. I'm really looking forward to that video that you're editing right now. I can't wait to see that one.
I rant a bit. I think some people are getting mad about it, but I don't know. I just found the whole topic so kind of ironic. That it's just, I remember when they bought it at the time, and I'm like, that could be a good move. And I'm like, why are we back here now? Like, it's been
we've come full circle,
Yeah, I was like, what's that line of the it's The Office. We go, oh, how the turntables have turned. It's like, you're just right back where you started here.
My favorite Office GIF online is the dude dropping the chili.
Oh yes, yeah. I know way too much. I watched The Office probably like 20 times, like beginning to end, just like on watch throughs over the years. But yeah, it's I like to use any Office meme I can find to plug into a video.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk about it. I plan on we'll talk about it on Theme Parking too. Maybe we'll get Jay on there to talk about it, because I'm curious on his thoughts on some of that as well.
100%. We need a good Jay rant,
I like a good rant. I like
Absolutely. But Jared, always a good time, brother. If you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
My brain's not working. CTM Podcast. You can find YouTube where we talk about in-park tricks there. But you can find us there. Sorry about that.
There he is. And I'll be linking down below all of his information. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to Capture the Magic. They are friends here of the channel. Support them. Show them some love. Comment down below with all your thoughts on everything we discussed today about Las Vegas, Universal, Disney, all that good stuff. We would love to hear from you. Until the next time, see you later.
Thank you so much for watching OG55. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and become a member today.